Side Blitz, where we break down everything the AFC in our way. Lately, it's been a lot. The Texans are surging with defense that's playing lights out, and the Colts, they're stumbling at a crucial moment in the race for the playoffs. And then there's the officiating, usually one of the storylines of the season. And I am joined by my co-host, Mick.
What's going on, everybody out there? Welcome back for another show of Blindside Blitz. Jim, how the hell have you been doing? Because I got to tell you, today has been a whirlwind of snow hitting us. Messy road.
Yeah.
Get very delayed on everything. And now we're here to talk about football, what we know and love. How are you, my friend? How did you survive today?
I only work down the road, so it's all good. But the Colts, they're slipping.
Daniel Jones, he's got a hairline fracture in his tibia. What was reported, it's got to be a little concerning too. Like going down, I know it shouldn't affect his play, but if he takes one wrong type of hit, it could end his season. So the Colts right now are really struggling. It's almost hard to watch at times, and they need to find their groove. They need to get it back. They need to start gaining momentum instead of falling apart down in the stretch. So hopefully they can kind of maybe pull away a win this week, maybe kind of tack on to that and see just how they can shape up when it gets to the end last week and see where they lie for the playoffs.
And the competition as the next couple of weeks line up too as well. But one of the other the team that's really been surging too in the last couple of weeks. So the Texans is the team you don't want to see right now. Phase out.
And honestly, like they're hitting their stride at the right time in the season. They're getting healthier. They've made some moves. You even saw the emergence of rookie Jaden Higgins, who now is starting to take over the second wide receiver role for them. And man, does that really help out a guy like Nico Collins? Is now you got two strapping, tall wide receivers that can go up and get the 50-50 ball, that can make big plays and move the chains or score touchdowns. So they're adding more to their arsenal, and they're right now hitting their stride, not just on defense, but also offensively. You're also seeing the running game start to pick up with dual threats in Woody Marks, who's actually really put on a really good show so far this season for Texans fans, and Nick Chubb, who was newly signed this offseason, who's also starting to make his name known. So this team is they're gaining momentum. They're stacking wins. And man, oh man, I can't wait to see what the end result is.
But the Jaguars looked really good too. There's been times where they've not consistent. I was just kind of sketchy and not a really big 8-4. It's enough to get a spot to play the way it's been playing too. On top of it, key dark horse in this playoff run.
Well, I mean, for the Jags, to me, they still don't impress me. Like, I have an issue with the fact that when it comes down to it, and Trevor Lawrence as a quarterback in the playoffs, is he going to rise to the occasion? And we've seen him have his issues in the past. But again, the biggest attribute for this Jaguars offense has been their running game. And not just the running backs, but also Trevor Lawrence. So you couple that, and if they are able to get back on track in the passing game with Trevor Lawrence, and also kind of go coincide with their defense and how well they've been playing, there's really, it's going to be unexpected, but honestly, like they could do some damage when they get to the playoff race.
Hey, everybody, this is William Del Pilar here. I'm the better looking half here. Joe, sorry to jump in like that. Jimmy's freezing a little bit there, and he's going to see if he can take care of that, maybe reboot the router. And, regarding your take on the Jaguars, I don't disagree, but my problem with the Jaguars, they're so helter-skelter. He'll look decent. Trevor Lawrence will look decent one game, and then he'll look like he's a complete rookie. I don't know if they had the stamina to play consistently for the rest of the year to even make it in. That's a tough division. And I think right now the Colts, they're struggling, but I think it's a matter of the Colts getting their sea legs and learning how to win. I guess what I'm saying is the bumps in the road we're seeing with the Colts versus the Jaguars, I think the Colts could be more temporary than the Jaguars. I mean, the Jaguars is what we see is like what we've seen from them the last 5 years. Am I looking at it wrong?
No, you're not looking at it wrong at all. Like that's kind of the same, thought process that I had about the Jaguars. The Colts, again, they are struggling right now, and it's a little concerning because back-to-back weeks, you notice a little chink in their armor, and, Daniel Jones not rising to the occasion like he once was early in the season, kind of just throwing the ball at will, along with Jonathan Taylor running the ball wherever he sees fit. Now you're seeing a team that's going through a little bit of adversity. I think that they can turn it around. I think they just have to get that one win to get them back on track and then, create that momentum as they get into the playoffs. But again, this is going to be an interesting division as well because with all these teams, either they're gaining momentum or not, it's really kind of shifting the space in the NFL of who we're actually going to end up seeing at the end of the season in the playoffs.
That's absolutely correct. I think with the Colts, they started to rely on their great running back, Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
And when they were able to stuff him, they said, we're going to dare Daniel Jones to beat us. So I think what the offensive coordinator needs to do is take that step back and go, okay, let's devise some plays here to get Daniel Jones comfortable in the pocket, use that tight end more often. They got that rookie tight end. I think he's a rookie.
Warren. Yep.
Yes, Tyler Warren, he may be up for Rookie of the Year honors. Phase him more as a safety valve, slowly open it up. And so I think this bump in the road is a good bump that happened now for the experience. So I guess what I'm saying is I see a higher ceiling. I'm at a point with Trevor Lawrence. I don't know if he has any more ceiling. I think what we see is what we get. In his defense, this is his fifth or sixth offensive coordinator and playbook. He may be in the same position as Daniel Jones and learning a new offense. But I think what they truly lack, the Jaguars, that the Colts have, is a damn running back. I'm sorry, I like Travis Etienne. I think that's how you pronounce his name. But the guy's a lightweight. He's like a fly on the field, He can do these little plays. But when it comes to playoff time, you got to have a ram in there, a bulldozer. And I think they had that with Jonathan Taylor. I didn't check the update for Sauce Gardner, so that could be a bit of a setback. But I don't want to dwell too much time on them. Your final thoughts on what I just threw at you there, and then I want to move on to a couple other teams.
Travis at the end, that's the thing is he's a dynamic, shifty running back. But you're right. You do need that power guy, that guy that can really ram through the scrum and push the pile for a first down. They had that before they traded Tank Bigsby. Tank Bigsby was that guy for them, for the Jaguars, and now he's with the Eagles. So I feel like that was a mistake on the Jaguars' part. Now they don't have that kind of tough, rugged type of running back, and that might hinder them as they try to push for this playoff.
Well, I get that. All right. Talk to me about Joe Burrows and the Bengals and what we've seen. My big knock on the Bengals, that defense is no defense, but the last few weeks, they've stepped it up, baby. And then you talk about not only the defense, Joe Burrows comes in and because I'm a fan favorite. So, Joe there, what made you come back? Man, we earned a lot of money. I'm doing it for the fans. I mean, how greater does it get than that? So that's storyline number one. If this defense keeps up, Joe Burrows is there, and no disrespect to Flacco. I thought Flacco helped, even though they didn't win a lot. He kept that team together, and instead of blowout losses, he made them believe in themselves a bit by keeping games close. On the flip side, then I want you to talk to me about the Ravens. Has the league caught up to their defense or injuries or what's happening there? And you said it a week or two ago. Look, you or Jimmy, Lamar Jackson needs to use both his skills. You're not going to make him a passer, period, end of story. He can hit the side of a barn. He just can't make it through that big old window on top of barns, But he can. So you're right. They have to use him. But has the league figured him out? And my final off-topic point is, how is Derrick Henry looking at the Patriots and go, bring me back, Mike? You got a winner up there.
Joe Burrow, honestly, he is the lead dog. He is the guy. He is the absolute leader of that offense, that team even. And you saw just a spark, just the buzz around him returning. Everybody's eyes lit up. Everybody had this little chip on their shoulder when he got back into the lineup. It's something that when you get your starter back, and he said it best himself, he's like, I'm a pro football player. That's what we get paid to do. That's why I'm returning. Not only did he return, his debut back, he just lit it up. I mean, he was slicing and dicing. And that was even without T. Higgins in the lineup. So just imagine with T. Higgins returning to this lineup, what this offense is going to be able to do. And you're absolutely right with especially the Bengals defense on how the last couple of weeks, they started to get a little bit better in terms of every aspect, every level of their defense. So if they can ever get Trey Hendrickson back healthy and put him into this defense and see what they can really accomplish as a whole, who knows? I mean, I don't think they're out of it yet. Yes, there's a small percentage that they make it, but when you got Joe Burrow back in the saddle, who knows, right?
Right. Right. They're 6-6. The Steelers are 6-6. They're only 2 games back. And let's go to the Steelers real quick because I did a topic on this. I don't know if I wrote an article, if I talked about it in the podcast, but the Steelers have a tradition of we are the biggest losers in NFL come the second half of the season. TJ Watts is a stud the first half, but then kind of dies out the second half. We the rusty steel curtain, people. That seems to be repeating itself.
Yeah, and you
Go ahead.
what you saw this week too, which was interesting, is the cornerback that they have, Darius Slay, is now have been released. They're moving
Free
on
agent
from
Slay.
him because of the changes that they've already made in the secondary. They even brought Asante Samuel. They signed him to their practice squad a couple weeks ago just to learn the defense. Now he's ready. They called him up today to the active roster. So you see little changes being made in the course of the season because they too know that they are in the playoff hunt. They want to make the playoffs. They want to go far with Aaron Rodgers. Now, I don't know if he's going to be able to pull off Houdini like he did in Green Bay, but it's semi kind of working in Pittsburgh. So they're going to do whatever it takes, whether it be bringing in a player late into the season to integrate into their defense, and hopefully that turns into problems for other offenses. But I gotta say, like the Steelers again, they are fighting just like the Bengals are fighting, just like the Ravens are fighting for that division.
Right. And for the audience out there, in my previous life, I was a fantasy sports pioneer, but I was also paid to be an NFL analyst on a lot of radio shows. And the one thing I noted about Mike Tomlin is a man's man. However, he's also old school. And what people don't realize about Tomlin is that he won his Super Bowl with Bill Cowher's general manager, with Bill Cowher's players. He went to his second Super Bowl that he lost against Green Bay with literally those type of players. That he has his own GM. He's making the players calls. We've seen him fumble the ball with Antonio Brown and Santonio Holmes and other players. So we've got 5 or 6 seasons of they just die in the second half. I think sometimes a coach has worn out their welcome. I am a hard pusher. I drive people. I realized in my careers that I had like a 5-year shelf life at any job before I got burnt out and they got tired of me pushing. And I'm wondering if Mike Tomlin, before we move on, looking into your crystal ball, if they don't make the playoffs and this swoon continues, do you think they're going to be making a change?
You know what? I've kind of been on the fence with Mike Tomlin too, because Pittsburgh Steelers normally don't like to change their head coach.
No, they don't. Yeah.
But on the other hand, you look at him, how successful he's been with Pittsburgh up to a point. Now, like he's always had a very good football team in general. But if you can only make round 1 of the playoffs, or you can't, or you just missed the playoffs in the past few years, questions are going to arise. And if he misses the playoffs yet again this year, I gotta tell you, like I'm not for firing Mike Tomlin, but I could see it happen because the Pittsburgh Steelers, with the talent that they have and what they've been able to build, they've already set the foundation. Now they just further build upon it. Maybe it might be time for a coaching change.
I think so. And I want to jump back up. I'm looking at my brackets and I'm having to jump in for poor Jimmy. And for the audience, I don't think we're going to get Jimmy back. His area is having some kind of outage. So apologies on that. I'm not as good, but I'll try to cover.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
Let's go to the Patriots here real quick. Just to show people I'm a good looking man. I know, I admit it. I look young, but do not quote me, people. But if I remember correctly, the year after I graduated, my high school team went to the state championship and they faced Drake May's father, Mark May.
Wow.
Mark May was a stud. And what happened, he got drafted, to show you how old I am, he got drafted by, I want to say the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, like in the 11th and 12th round when they had that many rounds.
Wow.
And the
Yeah.
reason I know this is because I followed him. I followed all the guys who went pro. One of the guys who went to rival high school, I can't remember his name, won a couple of Super Bowls, one with the Redskins and played for the Vikings. He was safety. He was a quarterback in high school, became a safety. But that said, I just had to toss that tidbit out. He has great genes. And for the record, Mark May never made it. And the expert said he had a dead arm. Pitching was his first love, and playing both, he just had dead arm by the time he got to the NFL. But that said, I'm impressed with the poise of Drake May. Now, don't get me wrong. He doesn't look special out there. I don't see, oh my God, this is the next greatest thing since sliced bread. But what I do see is a young quarterback who is smart, who plays with poise, who shows that he has not necessarily the intangibles, but has the intellectualness to understand what's happening on the field. Well, Mike Vrabel, and thank God he got rid of that mustache. Bro, you look like a bad porn actor with that mustache. So how far? They don't really have a strong running game, and I think he's too young. But at this point, talk to me about what Vrabel has done and what you see in Drake May.
Yeah, we've given a lot of accolades to Mike Vrabel and what he's done with this team in a short amount of time. Just being hired as the head coach in the offseason, everybody was super excited just about Vrabel returning, not only as a former player, but also now their head coach. He's kind of really turned this team from upside down to right side up in a very good way. You look at the key additions that they made on defense and offense, offensive line, wide receivers they brought in. You look at the draft, they drafted Von Henderson, who looks so special, so impactful, and a guy that is an absolute highlight waiting to happen. And you put that all together, and not just the great coaching staff he assembled, but with this team now, with Drake May, who really only needed an offensive line, some weapons to throw to, and this defense capitalizing on what they are able to achieve right now, healthier than ever. The sky's the limit for the Patriots, honestly. Drake May, like you mentioned, he's very accurate. He's smart. He anticipates. He is very calm under pressure. You already seen that. And oh yeah, by the way, if his throwing arm doesn't beat you, he can take off with his legs if he has to. So he's got all the key elements of a good quarterback play. Now he has every attribute to be a great quarterback in the near future. He's just got to continue developing. But this team right now, in a very quick turn of events for the New England Patriots, looks like the real deal heading down the stretch.
I got to admit this. I'm in the political world, and when Gerard Mayo came out with that politically correct, very woke press conference, I was like, oh, no, you don't put politics into Patriots football, and
No.
it just got worse for him. I hope he's a very likable guy, so he's quickly forgotten now, but I hope he can come back. But at the end of the day, it turned out everything was true. He should not have been the coach of that team. The owner, Kraft, made comments to the fact that he wished he hadn't given him the go so early on, or else he would have gone somewhere. But I like Gerard Mayo as a player, as a human being. So hopefully he can come back. But Mike Vrabel has taken this team to heights we haven't seen since the glory Brady days in terms of expectations and fan support. Now, on the Broncos, I think they're living on borrowed time. I see a lot of good intangibles, a phenomenal defense, but it's like they're on the right side of a lot of these close wins, like the Chiefs were, but in the Broncos' defense, it's not when you faced the Chiefs last year, it was, all right, the Oakland Raiders are playing the Kansas City Chiefs and the NFL refs. The Broncos are doing it without the NFL refs. But I'm biased. I'm not a big Sean Payton fan, but that's what I see. Prove me wrong. What do you see in there that's a positive that you think they could go to the Super Bowl? I think they'll be one and done in the playoffs.
This is the interesting thing is defense wins games and it also wins championships. Now, that saying is very true. However, me and Jimmy, when we were talking about the Broncos, Jimmy's kind of more on the fence that you are, where you think they're on borrowed time. They might be one and done. I'm under the sense that I've noticed little intricacies when Sean Payton calls games, where it's almost like he's going out of his way to protect his quarterback early in games. And then when he needs to open the playbook up a little bit more, throw the ball down the field a little bit more, he starts to open it up at the end. And that's where you see that little bit of a surge that they have in the fourth quarter to complete games and just barely come away with those wins. Now, going into the playoffs, you're going to have to open up the playbook a little bit sooner than the fourth quarter in order to steal away a couple of W's from other really competitive teams. The Broncos, I think they're kind of almost ad-libbing right now on just their defense, but I hope to God that, when it comes down to crunch time, when you have to play these tough opponents in the playoffs where it's sudden death, you don't get a second around, you don't get another shot, that he ends up coming in with a game plan where it's going to be able to keep the defense on their heels, let Bo Nix throw the ball down the field a little bit more often, and turn, because they already have a running game. They have one of the better offensive lines in football right now. So that they have that going for them. And then they got a couple of young receivers that are starting to show in recent weeks. Devon Bailey just had a really big outing this past game. You have Troy Franklin, who's basically was college roommates with Bo Nix in Oregon, and they have chemistry there. So I really like what the Broncos have as a model going in, but I still think offensively that they need to kind of not have any more training wheels in their play calls. That's where I agree with you, Will, about Sean Payton and his coaching derivative and how he views how to attack opponents, because it almost seems a little too careful.
Right. And that's always been his problem. One Super Bowl, he had teams that should have gone much farther. Now, granted, I'll never forget, and I'll never forgive the refs for that horrific play call where the guy tackled the Saints receiver. It's like, come on, you moron. Yeah. And it's the same story. I have no love for these coaches, especially the Hockleys. A bunch of steroid takers affecting their brains. Get the hell out of here. Get out of the NFL, you fools. All right, let's keep moving. To a lesser extent, I'm no longer the fantasy or NFL analyst I used to be, but on the surface, I don't see similarities necessarily on the field, but I see similarities in how they win. And that's the Texans in comparison to the Broncos. They're winning with defense. And one thing, they've got a strong defense. Do the Texans have enough to win the division and do anything? Because I'm not seeing anything special out of their offense. I haven't seen anything special out of the offense since Stroud's rookie season. And I give credit to David Mills. And you're right. Throw the damn ball to Nico Harrison. Is that his last name, Harrison?
Nico Collins,
whatever the hell you are. Throw it to him. So what do you see there? To me, it's a defensive team, and defense wins championships, but you got to have some offense, people.
Yeah, I actually have a little bit more confidence in Houston's offense rather than Denver's offense, because I've seen a couple of sparks these past couple of weeks. Now, what haven't they had in quite some time since Nico Collins was basically spearheaded that number one position? An opposite candidate. They've never had a number two that could be comparable to what Nico Collins is. And I think you're starting to see that these last couple of weeks with the Jaden Higgins, rookie wide receiver, very tall guy, has speed for his size. And now you're seeing him being heavily used these past couple of weeks in terms of targets. Sometimes he's just beating out Nico Collins for targets at this point. With the quarterbacks kind of changing from Davis Mills to now CJ Stroud, look for this chemistry to continue to build. That's what gives me hope. Now, the offensive line is, again, they had struggles in the first half of the season. It looks like they're starting to gel a little bit too. You're starting to notice a pocket being held up in front of CJ Stroud. You're starting to notice more competent play. And with the two running backs that they have, and Nick Chubb and Woody Marks, again, the young guys like Woody Marks and Jaden Higgins starting to come together, starting to gel. The chemistry's there. That's what gives me hope for the Houston Texans. That's why I kind of believe that now that they're getting momentum later in the season, which is the key thing to note, they could very easily come away with this division when nobody thought about it early on the season.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They kind of snuck on in there with the Colts 2-game losing streak, and they're better playing their wins. I would agree. All right, just a couple of minutes, because we spent a lot of time on the Bills, or rather the Blindside Blitz show has much needed shot in the arm. But that team, I mean, they took care of business. But a couple of, what have you seen from the previous weeks that may have changed based off this win against the Steelers?
To be honest, I haven't noticed any big shift in terms of like moving the needle to where everybody can be a believer in the Bills now. They're going to storm back. They're going to come away and get into the playoffs and make some noise. I still don't see it that way. I still have concerns on the defensive side of the ball, even though they've managed to once in a while have some big time plays. from Joey Bosa and company, creating the pressure and the sacks and whatnot. Everything is so heavily rotated around Josh Allen. You can't win. You can't win many games, especially in the playoffs, if your only go-to guy in Josh Allen and the running game with James Cook and Ray Davis. When it comes time to throw the football, you're going to be handcuffed. And another thing, Will, that I want to point out too is that the wide receiving core has been lacking for the last couple of years, and still no real attention this offseason or even before the trade deadline. They called around a few times. There's what do you want for Chris Olave? It's a little too much. What do you want for this guy, for that guy? They just never seem to get things done the way they need to, much like look at what the Patriots did in one offseason. That's kind of like
Right.
the thing where, like, if you have a foundation, you can build on it in one offseason and not maybe just turn it right around, but at least be competitive and show some productivity. I'm not seeing that from the Buffalo Bills. I see it's Josh Allen, and if Josh Allen doesn't have a big day, well, the Bills are on the fringe of losing those games.
Yeah, and they're wasting prime years of Josh Allen. All right, let's get to the San Diego Super Losers. Ever since they moved to LA, I hope you lose every game, damn you. And you're still soft, but they they won this past week. They took care of business. Talk to me about that offensive line. How did it look this weekend to you? I know you've been talking about the fact that they've lost both their left and right tackle. Because of that, they're done. I mean, put a fork in them. And when I say this, people, what I'm referring to is the playoffs. To give you an example, I had a Chicago station hound me for a few days after the Super Bowl because I was one of the few that predicted the Rams to lose to the Patriots way back many years ago. And I'm like, hey, I see things, and I do. And there's certain things once you hit the playoffs, you better be able to do and protect your running game and have a rushing the game. And they have neither right now, in my eyes, to make it far into the playoffs. But what do you see in them right now?
I mean, so all right. So what's the team that we're talking about right now?
The Chargers,
Chargers.
the Los Angeles Super Losers.
Honestly, I still stand on what I said prior. That the offensive line woes is going to show its ugly head when it comes time to when they need to pull off a win in the playoffs. If they make it, there's no guarantee that they do. They still got a stretch of games that they got to overcome. Not having both your starting tackles and an interior offensive line that continues to get beaten up week in and week out. For a Jim Harbaugh-led team that loves to run the football, that likes to establish that running game, so that way it relieves a lot of pressure off of Justin Herbert, and he doesn't have to throw as much. That's the offense he likes to do. He likes to chew the clock up, likes to score at the end of long drives, and I don't think they're able to do that anymore because of the lack of offensive line. The protection isn't there. The rushing lanes half the time are there. They are going to get back a Marion Hampton, it sounds like, maybe this week or the following week, so that's a plus, I guess, for them. But again, it's going to continue to fall all the pressure on Justin Herbert. He's going to have to throw the football to create rushing lanes. He's going to have to make those big time throws, or even sometimes he takes off and runs for a first down. He's going to have to do it all for the Chargers moving forward.
Right. And I'll be honest to the audience, to you people out there, as I told you, I grew up a long time ago, and there was none of these quarterbacks. I don't care about Tom Brady. He'll never be the GOAT. You know why? Back when I was a kid watching football, the quarterbacks called the plays on the field. They called the plays, and they were tough. They took massive hits. They took hard hits, and they got up. When I see Herbert, it's like the guy's fragile. He goes down, and it's like, is he gonna get up? Is he gonna get up? And granted, they're hard shots, but he needs to be a little bit tougher. He needs to put some meat on those bones because every year he's always getting beat up, and sometimes some of those is bro. Come on,
Can you?
I could put a skirt on my sister and she'll take a hit like that and get up. She's not rushing. That doesn't wear combat boots.
Yeah, you mentioned about how he needs to get a little bit tougher. Well, he just injured his non-throwing hand in
Exactly.
this past week's game. You saw him come out. It looks like, from what I saw from the video, it almost looks like he broke a finger on that non-throwing hand. And that's why his hand looked a little weird, like it looked like a cosmetic replacement almost. And that might lead to other issues down the road. Pain management, taking snaps under center. We saw that, how he heavily favored his throwing hand over everything whenever he was catching a snap or whatnot. So watch for that too with the Chargers. Not only is their offensive line banged up, but now their quarterback is also banged up.
And people, I'm not saying he's soft. I'm saying he's fragile. There's a difference. I'm not going to take away from his
Reggie,
he got out there and played again. All right, now let's go to one of the rivals. Look, as bad as the Chiefs are, they're only 2 games out, and there's still a more than a handful of games left. Now it seems like finally the NFL got the cue. Man, we can't cover for them anymore, and it's no longer the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Dallas Cow or the Kansas City Chiefs and the NFL refs versus the Cowboys. And lo and behold, they're 6-6. I still think they are a deadly team. You do not want to face each week, and if they get in because of their experience and because they have the currently, I don't care what anybody says, in my opinion, the best quarterback in the NFL, Mahomes, they're always going to be scary. But what do you make of this turn of events?
so for the Chiefs now, they are a sneaky and dangerous team. They are definitely the best 6-6 team there is in the
Yeah.
National Football League. Because here's the issue that I think teams are kind of overlooking in a sense. Look at the Colts game. The Colts, when they stormed out and had that big 21-point lead, it's almost like they took their foot off the gas. They said, "Oh, we're pretty
Yeah.
comfortable. We got the lead. They're not going to come back. We got this." This is a Chiefs team that has always had the never say die attitude. Well, it could be 2 seconds left in the game, and they still think they got a shot to go down the field.
That's right.
Patrick Mahomes with his cannon for an arm, and his mobility, which a lot of people still undervalue, still underrate, I would say. Defenses still look surprised week to week to see how fast this guy actually is running down the sideline. This is a very dangerous team. Now, they are a little bit limping. Some things aren't going their way. However, because of all this, and I wonder the teams that are now going to have to face them down the stretch, if they get an opportunity to knock them off, they have to take it. Unlike the Colts did not do that. But once you get a lead, you got to maintain that lead, play the same defense that's been working. Do not deviate from that.
Correct.
And that's the only way you're going to beat this Chiefs team. Now, they are on the fence. They are 6-6. If they get a couple more losses, it's possible that they might not make the playoffs. But as if you're a betting man, I'm betting that the Chiefs somehow, some way, at least
Correct.
get a wild card.
Correct. I'm in the same boat there with you, Joe. It's their deadly team. I think that's the biggest story in all of sports if the Chiefs don't make it in the playoffs. All right. I used to have a big knock against Caleb Williams, but winning kind of puts the dagger in the heart. He held on to the ball too long, didn't always read the field. But I kind of view the Bears right now like the Broncos. One and done. They're not yet ready. They're on a hot streak, but kudos to them. What's your take on the Bears?
Bears are interesting right now. Ben Johnson just won all season, guys. Won all season. Ben Johnson, the new head coach, comes in there, makes a big difference in Caleb Williams and his play. Like, there's no doubt about it. He's almost like now his offensive playbook is not the simplest thing in terms of verbiage, in terms of learning what his keys are and whatnot. However, they've been working diligently all off season. Early on in the season, you saw the same kind of Caleb Williams holding the football, not knowing where to go with it. And now, when we're just past the midway point, you're seeing a little bit different type of Caleb Williams. You're looking at a Caleb Williams that knows exactly where everybody is, that is going to deliver the football on time. And that makes him dangerous because he also has one hell of a set of wheels. Because if you block covering everybody and you let that guy leak out, he's going to take that yardage.
Right.
You're seeing a very different Bears team with a brand new coach, new staff that is really putting it all together, that I believe already had the defense in place, but now you have the counterpart with the offense starting to click as well. This is a team that has actually surprised the hell out of me. I never thought that even though they had the defense, I wasn't too keen on Caleb Williams coming into the season and making a run for the playoffs, let alone being competitive. So this is a surprising Bears team, and honestly, let's see how they finish.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you this question. Do you want to hear my response first, or do you want to give me yours, and then I'll give you the correct response? What do you? I'm kidding. And Johnson, Mike Vrabel. Let's say they win out. Who gets Coach of the Year?
Mike Vrabel.
Why?
Because Mike Vrabel came into a new team just like Ben Johnson, but the one thing that he did is he had to correct a lot more issues. More issues on the defense he had to correct with position players, offensive line issues, where the Bears kind of already had their offensive line in place. They didn't really do too much. The weapons were already there. The quarterback was already there. Drake May was already there for New England. However, this guy,
There
it's
were more
amazing.
knocks
Just
on May than there were on Caleb. That's why Caleb was number 1 overall,
I
so I
honestly,
get
I
it.
had it the other way around. When I was doing my scouting, I had Drake May above Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams he wasn't over Jaden Daniels in my book. He wasn't who else was there? Trying to think. But anyway, I didn't have Caleb Williams really high on mine. I had him in the top 4, I think. But again, I just think that Mike Vrabel, for him to come into that team that needed a lot more in terms of direction, in terms of coaching, in terms of player personnel, I think that's where he edges out Ben Johnson.
I'll be honest. I had Caleb Williams out of the first top 5 rounds. When you paint your fingernails and you cry in mama's arms in public, you're out. Of course I'm being sarcastic here,
Right.
but I did hold that against him. I would actually give it to Ben Johnson. And I'm not saying that I'm right, but I look at that division, the Packers, the Lions, and before the Vikings fell apart on paper, they were supposed to be competing. Vrabel is facing the Jets twice, the Dolphins twice, and the Bills are the legit deal. Now, that said, the reason I'm not saying, hey, I'm absolutely right in my thought process is because those are 2 divisions where it doesn't really matter what the record is. A lot of the times they play each other tough, especially with the Dolphins and Bills. But that's how I would look at it. Because look, Green Bay, some people claim they've been up and down, but some people say, hey, that's a Super Bowl contending team. The Lions, Super Bowl contending teams. And you don't hear anything about that in that division going into the season outside of the Bills. So there's various ways to look at it. But like you said, let's see how the season plays out. Okay. I want to get into some side stories, but I do want to finish getting your opinion on some of these other playoff contending teams. So real quick, talk to me. Let's talk the wild card, and actually it's not even really the wild cards. It's too early because the Packers are literally a half game back just because they played 1 game less than the Bears. So talk to me about the Packers. I see a helter-skelter team. I see a team that can beat the hell out of the best team in the league, and then the Cleveland Browns take them out. So
Yeah.
I don't know what that means, but it tells me they're not quite ready for prime time yet, but they have another handful of games to iron it out. Talk to me about them, and then talk to me about the Seahawks, because I love the Seahawks, but believe it or not, their weakness is Sam Darnold, not in the way you think. It's like when Sam Darnold has a bad game, they lose. And because his bad games are like multiple interceptions, bad mental mistakes. He is not the intellectually gifted quarterback that I think he has a lot of talent, but I don't think he has it all up here when compared to other quarterbacks. So talk to me first about the Packers and the Seahawks.
Yeah, I mean, the Green Bay Packers, you're right. They have been a helter-skelter team. They've been difficult to read, honestly, week to week. The first couple of weeks, they were dominant. They were just dismantling their first couple of opponents. And everyone's like, and then they pulled off the trade for Micah Parsons. And everyone's like, oh, wait for this Packer team now. They're going to be on their way to the Super Bowl. And then and then we went off the tracks somehow, and got back on, and then we fell off again. And then it seems like this team has been so inconsistent to this point where I don't have any confidence in Green Bay anymore. I don't. Defensively, they show up sometimes, and then other times you're like, what happened? And then offensively with Jordan Love, what is it? This guy looks like, at times he can look like a Pro Bowl player, and then most of the time it's like, this is our starting quarterback. Like, what is he doing out there? He's throwing it out of bounds. He's not hitting the right guy. And it's not all his fault either, because it also falls on the side of the wide receivers dropping the football way too consistently in key moments, first downs, touchdowns. It's just not all adding up. So the Packers, I don't know what to make of them, to be honest.
Joe, I don't think they've ever recovered from that when the powerhouse Cleveland Browns came into town and beat the hell out of him. I just think that, who knows? Okay, talk to me about Darnold. I love the Seahawks. I become a fan just because they are the team. When an opposing opponent comes in, they know, oh, hell, this is going to be a physical game. They're going to pound it. They're going to run it hard. It's going to be smash mouth football. It's like even Mean Joe Green's going, I don't really want to play them. That's what I see with the Seahawks. But their weakness, again, I see is Sam Darnold, and he needs to be more. When a mistake happens, it seems like he mentally loses it. Am I looking at it? And I'm a big Darnold fan because I love comeback players. So what's your take?
Yeah, Sam Darnold, I feel like he's just like any other quarterback in the sense of when he starts to feel pressure or get uncomfortable in the pocket, that's when all the mistakes start to unravel. He loses his composure. He starts trying to do too much. He throws it in double coverage when he shouldn't have to. He's just not taking the easy routes that are there. Instead of trying to make the route that he hit, the route that he should hit, he's trying to do too much and make the big play down the field. And I understand they pulled off the trade. They got Rashid Shaheed in there along with JSN. And JSN has been absolutely dominating this league in the receiver department. He's on pace to beating Calvin Johnson's single season receiving record, which is all time. It would be amazing if he reaches it. But again, everything is going to be, predicated on Sam Darnold. If he can keep his composure in those high pressure situations, I have no issues with their Seattle defense. They are all over the football field, very fast defense, sideline to sideline. And they also create a lot of pressure on opposing quarterbacks. So Seattle, I think as a whole, as a team, they are definitely right there in the running. Could make some very surprising wins happen in the playoffs. But again, it's going to all fall on Sam Darnold in the end.
All right. All right. Give me some 30-second answers here. The 49ers, they've been ravaged by some injuries and all. They're competitive every week. I saw a story or an opinion today. They got to bring back Mac Jones. Brock Purdy's arm looks a little dead. I haven't paid too much attention to them. What's your take on that comment? Is it a nut job? Watches too much, or is on X too much, or is there some truth to that?
There's a little bit of truth to that because when Mac Jones took over for Brock Purdy, it almost looked like they got an upgrade in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Mac Jones was not committing interceptions, was not having bad mistakes, throwing the football in different. Right. He was actually playing very high precision football as a quarterback. And now you have Brock Purdy who got healthy. Yes, he is their guy, but why move on from the hot hand? Why move on from a guy who has been playing better than Purdy? So, with Brock Purdy coming in, he's making money, get all that part of it. But if you want this team to go farther than what it looks like it can end up, I mean, I have my issues on the defense. Obviously, they don't have Fred Warner. They don't have Nick Bosa. They're missing some key elements to that side of the ball as well. I just don't know, man. This team, if anybody that has a decent defense can slow down this running attack, I feel like the 49ers are in trouble.
You're right. I agree. And the reason they went to Brock Purdy, he's their starter. The last thing you want is locker room divisiveness, and that's clear. And I'll give Brock Purdy a little bit of credit. He may be a little rusty, but Mac Jones looked like the real deal, and that's good coaching there. Okay, 30 seconds. Cowboys, I don't think they're a real deal at 6-5. They're on the outside looking in. I think it shows how much the Chiefs have dropped more than how good the Cowboys are. Real quick, so I don't see much of them. So talk to me real quick for about 30 seconds on them. Then move on to the Panthers. I don't think they're contenders this year, but I love to see the turnaround that's happening.
Yeah, Dallas Cowboys. It all started at the trade deadline. They get Quinnen Williams, that dominant D tackle from the Jets, get the guys back, Demarion Overshown, healthy, back and inserted into the lineup. Shavon Ravel, the rookie corner, back into the lineup. And then also trade for a guy who kind of is under the radar, middle linebacker Logan Wilson. And now this defense has transformed into a very fast tackling machine, high pressure team. And then on offense, it was already there. Dak Prescott, George Pickens killing defenses left and right. CeeDee Lamb kind of just licking his chops every single week. And then this rushing attack with Javonte Williams. I mean, this team has really come full circle right now. And they could very well easily kind of make that push late in the game and try to make the playoffs.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Let's move on to a couple of stories before we close the show out. We're at the 53-minute mark, and I know y'all want to hear me talk more. It's just that natural gift I have to the audience.
They do.
But talk to me about, this has become an ugly issue, Shadir Sanders, and it's broken down on racial lines. More scouts have come out and said, look, this guy's just not NFL quality, and then it becomes a race-based. I don't really want you to talk about the race. I'm just setting up for the audience. My take on it, it's sad. I like Shadir Sanders. You know why? He was raised right, not committing crimes. He's a showboater. I don't like that about him, but there's nothing wrong with the kid. He's a good kid. And he's even has a bit of a conservative side, him and Dion, which is my side of the political aisle. So I'm like, get off his back. But that said, I thought that 4th and 26 was a horrible play when he ran for 6 yards and slid. The sliding I didn't mind it, but it's kind of like just how it looked. Look, I don't care if it's going to get intercepted. You do the Hail Mary and you throw it down. So he has not impressed me, but I like the kid. Your take on that whole, to me, it's a debacle, that whole QB situation. Because Dylan Gabriel. Am I good?
Yes.
Yeah. He wasn't playing horrifically. There's just a bad team.
Mhm.
Your thoughts
Yeah.
on that storyline?
Yeah, with Cleveland's whole situation, that the defense is good, but the offense is lacking in a lot of areas. And when you draft not one but two quarterbacks, you're hoping that one of them pans out, and two, you got to have the components to help them. They got two tight ends that they can throw to, but okay, outside of that, Jerry Judy, he's average at best in the NFL. He's your number one. Like, what do you expect these guys to do? So Dylan Gabriel, I felt like had a really solid game this season until he got injured and he left. Insert Shador. Shador is a great person. He really is. Awesome kid. I love his demeanor. He's just calm, cool, collected. He's not even like he's not a loud guy. He's not going to disrupt anything, not toxic. But Shador, honestly, like they're all being given their opportunity. I think that Shador has a long way to go to be an NFL quarterback if he can even reach that goal. But I think in the near future, Cleveland might turn their direction to Dylan Gabriel for next season.
I got to be honest. I think part of the problem is Deshaun Watson. You give that much money guaranteed, that destroys your salary cap. And they know it. We know it. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry knows it. And when that happens, people, you can't sign quality players at other positions. And even worse, the few quality players you have, if they get hurt, you got scrub number one, and God bless that scrub because he's playing in the NFL and we can't because we're not good enough. But there's a reason he's number 3 on the depth chart and you're using him as number 2 because you ain't got the money to pay someone else. So Cleveland, you brought this on yourself. You guys are the sorry ass dog pack. All right. Talk to me about Doug Schoen. I know Roderick David brought up a key point. He's under scrutiny. I think he should have been let go with DeBow. These losses are continue on. They got Jackson Dart back. And I'm sorry, Jackson. Everybody loves you. But you know what? I'm grabbing you like a parent by the hair and throwing you on the ground and slapping you around before Child Protective Services calls somebody to come get you because you don't freaking take an NFL hit like you did running out of the sideline and pretend you're John Elway doing the helicopter. He won a Super Bowl. You got beat. So talk to me about Doug Schoen and talk to me about the stupidity of Jackson Dart not wanting to play the quarterback position to the full extent, meaning you learn how to slide, boy.
Yeah, Joel Shane, like we kind of saw the writing on the wall. As soon as you started to see, pointing fingers as we reach the midway point, Brian Daboll now being fired, defensive coordinator Shane Bowen, he also got fired. It seems like a never ending, firing spree. And now it ends with Joe Schoen. And I don't know if I agree with firing Schoen. I think he's done a fairly decent job as a GM and what his job actually is. But again, they've decided to move on. They want a clean slate for this upcoming offseason. There's going to be a long list of candidates for the head coaching job and GMs. So, I mean, overall, like this is a whole new direction the Giants are going to have to go in. Jackson Dart, yeah, he does need to learn how to slide or at least get out of bounds if you have the opportunity. Do not take these unnecessary hits. But Jackson Dart saw his press conference, came out and said that he's basically not changing his game. He goes, I'm a football player. I'm going to take those hits all for my teammates. I'm going to get the extra yardage if I see fit. But this could lead to some concerns, especially for the next coach in the line.
He reminds me he's got that surfer look, but when I see him, I see Spicoli. For those of you who don't know who Spicoli is, that is Sean Penn at Ridgemont High, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And he wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed, and that's what you're getting out of Jackson Dart. So I don't care how much love you guys have in New York for him, you ain't going nowhere if that boy doesn't learn how to play quarterback position properly, So, and as far as Schoen, I get that. I kind of agree with you. And it also shows how a quarterback can make or break. And we got a question here from Mike Tackett, official. I know he's a big fan of the show. The show is dealing with the B team right now with me here. Why does Cleveland keep finding themselves in the doghouse? No pun intended. No, Mike, you intended that pun. We know it. at least the New York Jets have draft capital to build for the future. I think I kind of answered that question. They got so much tied up in Deshaun Watson, they really don't have the money to sign Death. But more importantly, you're going nowhere, people. So instead of giving Myles Garrett that big $50 million guaranteed, 150 whatever big contract it was, you trade him for 5 to 6 to 7 draft picks. That's what you do. Because when they signed him, I got, y'all ain't going to win with him. Y'all haven't won with him now, and you ain't got no quarterback. So that's why the dog pound is in the doghouse. That and tradition. Come on, they're just losers. I mean, it boils down to who was that great running back when they were playing the Denver Broncos? Biner, with Marty Schottenheimer, they're driving to win the game. Fumble! That's been the lot of the Cleveland Browns. And I'm sorry, people, you're going to have to deal with some more losing seasons for the next 3, 4, next 10 years. Your thoughts there to talk to Mike.
Yeah, for Cleveland, it all stems from drafting. Really, that's how you build your franchise. It's how you build your organization. And they've just had very unsuccessful drafts, all having high draft picks, still coming away with nothing. And then the one guy that they managed to nail, Baker Mayfield, they gave up on way too early. And here he is doing big things in Tampa Bay. So Cleveland fans, you're in for a long, miserable bunch of seasons until this team seems to turn it around. It is absolutely abysmal. I don't know what they have to do. I mean, obviously, part of it's going to have to be find the right GM for one, and right coaching staff even, because Kevin Stefanski ain't it. Kevin Stefanski is a run-oriented guy who has been seen as a quarterback guru in some circles. But guess what? We're not seeing the development. We're not seeing the explosion of talent that he can lay upon a quarterback and make them play better. Not seeing it in play calling, not seeing it in grooming. Yeah, I think Cleveland needs to, and again, take the same route that the Giants are taking currently and clean slate, clean house, start over and see what you guys can do in the next 5 years.
You brought up a great point. The inmates running the asylum. You didn't say that, but that's what happened with the Baker Mayfield situation. They let what's an old, washed-up, Peds-taking receiver in Odell Beckham rule that hen house. And I'm sorry, people, let me tell you a lesson in life when it comes to the NFL. Receivers do not win Super Bowls. Receivers do not take you to the next level. They can help enhance a quarterback, but a quarterback makes the great receiver. It's that simple.
Tom Brady.
Yes, Tom Brady. That's exactly. So when you put more into a receiver and his thought process, like you did with Odell Beckham, and trade a former number 1 all-around pick who was playing with a messed up shoulder and doing his best, and you jettison him, you're getting what you deserve. Cleveland Browns, the well-earned loservilles. All right, and the Mike Tackett, I was just told it is your birthday today. The pigskin god said, William, it's Mike Tackett's birthday. Happy birthday,
Happy
Mike.
birthday, Mike.
And to you, Big Joe, have we left anything out? Are there any storylines, anything you want to get off your big chest there?
I mean, I think we got to do another show for it, but I still have major issues with the refs. Major issues.
They're like the ugly stepchild who doesn't want to go home. They're like the Drew at Thanksgiving. Is anybody gonna take the ref home? No, he's still here and he's making bad calls.
Yeah, it's almost getting to a point where I'm concerned for the playoffs. Really, I understand regular season is what it is. Yeah, everybody's gonna get wronged by the referees at some point or another. But when it comes to the playoffs, I want it to be called the same across the board with every referee crew, and we're just not seeing that. We're seeing even non-calls. People can clearly see on the TV screen that guy's holding because he's bear hugging him, but no flag was thrown. Why? I don't know. Pass interference that's not called or is called when it shouldn't be. So the refs are just absolutely asinine. I don't even know what to make out of them. I don't know what we talked about it before on the show about how we would fix the NFL refereeing, but they're not going to listen to us.
You got to go younger. First of all, we don't need the Hockleys in their steroid use, allegedly. I'm just kidding. I don't know if they take roids or not. I love poking fun at the Hockleys. I have no respect for Hockley after that Denver Broncos Chargers game when he called the fumble, didn't call the fumble, didn't see the fumble, and then just messed it up even more after the game trying to explain it. And now his son's going to grace us for the next 30 years. They're too slow. You got to go younger and go faster. How the hell does a ref make a play with a receiver who runs at Olympic speed and the ref's 20 yards away? He doesn't. But they got other refs. Yeah, but if that other ref's not looking, upstairs needs to make more calls to correct what you're talking about. That's step 1 and 2. Go younger, have upstairs, call down. Sorry, bro, I'm overruling you. Why? I got 12 camera angles here. That's why. And I understand there's those difficult calls when they're in the pile and that, etc.
Yeah, one more thing, Will, and I want to actually bring this question up to you. I don't know with the Hawkeye technology that they implemented this year with the football and the sensors in the football, and I thought going into this season that they were going to utilize that technology for those scrums, for those places in the play where you can't see the ball to track it and find out where it was on the field. That's how how I envisioned it. But really, it's just the technologized, over dramatic measuring system. Always where the ball's placed,
Right.
which was the problem in the first place.
The NFL, I don't know if it still holds true. When I covered the game, it's been the question since the NFL was created, the refs and these type of calls. They don't like to interfere in what you call opinion calls. Like, was he really holding? Is that those type? They'll sit there and go, no, that was a fumble. Oh no, he missed this. That's how it started. But some of these calls are so easy that they would review, like pass interference. Well, did he really touch that? Well, let the ref, we don't want to interfere with that. It's a judgment call. That's what I'm saying. Certain judgment call type plays. But now we have the technology. We're like, no, he was hanging all over him. It's kind of like, look at it this way, people, with judgment calls or things like that. Now they have the technology, they have the cameras. We don't know if Franco Harris actually caught the ball. We don't know. There weren't enough camera angles. The refs, y'all may not know this, but the refs said we can't overturn that call or we will not leave the stadium alive. That actually went through the mind. So now they have the technology need to go. We don't care about that. We don't worry about that. We have the actual technology. It's like some of these, like a tush push. Let's say there's a fumble in there and you can't really tell. Yeah, okay, we get you can't handle that, but you can handle a lot of the other stuff. And real quick before we go, Justin Tucker was tried out for the Colts this week. For you those that don't remember, Justin Tucker is the
Former All-Pro Raven kicker.
The
That
junior
holds a lot of
Musketeer.
franchise records.
Yeah, he looks up to Deshaun Watson. Allegedly, but he was tried out, so look for him to get back into the league. He did his 10-game suspension. As Joe said, he's a big time kicker. And with that, Joe, I love subbing in. I just love talking NFL trash. I really do. It's one of the few times I jump on the soapbox and I let my feelings be known. And maybe that's because I cover the league, so I still know a lot of the players, not the players, but the coaches and agents and things in the game. Even though they won't return my call because I'm a conservative now. Yeah. With that said, it's fun to cover. I appreciate coming on and to the audience. Joe, tell the audience, where can they find us?
Oh, it's so easy, guys, and it's absolutely free. No subscription needed. Just head over to our YouTube channel at Grumblings Media. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure while you're there, real quick, click that thumbs up for us. It helps YouTube know that we should be seeing the show more. Give it to more people. Share the love. And don't forget to tell a friend about us. We'll see you in the next one.
Outstanding. And with that, my friends, I am William Del Pilar for the great Jimmy McPhee and Big Joe DeCapita. Next week, look for the regular crew to be back on, and we will see you then.
Hey everybody, this is Big John from Grumblings Media, and I just want to say thank you for watching our content. If you want to support our efforts here at Grumblings Media, just smash the subscribe button right here, totally free, or just go ahead and consume more of our great content. Click either one of these two boxes.